Yo, now is working. Welcome everybody to the stream. You saw there was some issue, but what is important is to talk about the GBB sound. My name is Freddy Beats. I'm today's host. We're gonna have a healthy debate with one of the best, some of the best beatboxers and loopers in the world. And hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome. You can see me. You can hear me good. Yes. It won't be the first time that I'm talking muted for 10 minutes in SBX. That happened in the last stream. So let's hope that it's not today. Here I have with me.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Hey yo,
Yo, hi-yo.
oh yeah, good man.
Thank- no, no, we cannot hear you. We can hear us, but not you. I swear. We heard you in the few first seconds of the live stream, but not anymore. But I just heard Dino in the stream and not you. And I hear myself and my big laugh. So yeah. Let's see. I'll tell you in a few seconds. My delay is very big.
Hello, hello, hello. Yes, yes. 1, 2, 1, 2.
Yeah, I cannot hear you in the stream.
What is going on today? But here is
Oh, now yes.
Now,
Now we
yeah.
hear you.
Okay, okay, okay. My God.
Finally.
As I was saying, I have all these legends with me. How not to start a stream on SBX with me on mute. I was even making a joke that I will be on mute. I have literally the green thing going up on my volume, but for some reason, the joke is meta now. Anyway, we're gonna have a stream debating live sound from GBB, from other editions, and for the next GBB 26, the solutions that we would have. And we have different opinions, I think, in the roster here of what they want and of what they would like. But first, I'm going to start saying that we have some basic rules. Don't interrupt each other. Don't insult each other if it's not for creating beef for the next year. If it's like that, I will let you put some beef on it. But we will talk about live sound and why this debate exists. So the sound has been a debate, GBB, for the last years, and we have different setups with different results, and it can beneficiate some and not so happy for another type of beatboxer. So I will start the talk saying the difference between GBB 23 and GBB 24 and 25. So in this case, there was 23 and 25 was at the same venue and also was different sound settings. Christoph, I'm gonna start with you, that you know a little bit what was the main difference, and you can explain much better than you. I will be moderating. I will be giving you the word, so I'm not gonna talk much about the topics, but I will kind of asking you your take on each of the topics that we will have today. So, Christoph, word to you.
Alrighty. First of all, hi everybody. As you might know, there are different approaches for sound at GBB. One is allowing a little bit of affecting, compression, EQ, a little bit of reverb to make the listening experience as nice as possible for the public. But of course, compression and limiting might be kind of punishing loud beatboxers. So after 23, where people were super happy with the sound, but some of the beatboxers weren't, we switched approach, and in 24 and 25 we had more of a raw sound with as little adjustment as possible, especially in 25. And yeah, that's the core difference. In one side we try to do just as little as it's needed for the room to not to feedback, and everybody is sounding as natural as possible, so the volume differences, power differences, cleanliness differences can come out better, and the judges can evaluate better. But also that might hurt a little bit of the listening experience of people. And yeah, that's the core difference.
Okay, so now that we have a base on the core difference, um, has anybody have something to say about the difference between GBB 23 and 25? If you participated, I think Dan was one of them. Wing also, right? Anybody wanna jump on it? What was your preference? What you saw? What was the difference that you saw on it on stage, or when you heard other beatboxers? Who wanna jump in?
I guess I'll start.
Yeah.
So yeah, Christoph, you really well explained. Basically the core differences of GBB 23 and 24 and 25, which were pretty much very similar in terms of sound. And yeah, I do agree with you where it did, in a way, it was the sound at GBB 2023 was punishing to the I guess the more powerful, louder beatboxers. Um, I just, for me personally, do I understand that your approach on the more raw sound is in your way more fair, but in my opinion, I think it's actually unfair to everyone. And I know we've had these talks before, and I think one of the uh, there's who is the beatboxer that one of the beatboxers that was punished heavily because of the heavily compressed sound was I think he said Maxo. And while I do agree with you, I think there are countless other examples of loud, powerful beatboxers at GBB 2023 who weren't punished by the overcompressed sound. For example, like Julard, Lency, Napalm, right? And just as an example, the Napalm versus Wing battle, I could, for me, in the crowd at least, I could definitely still hear a clear difference between the Napalm being slightly louder than Wing, and I could definitely hear the volume differences in the under 18 as well when it came to like uh was it Lency versus Wand, things like that. But yeah, I just, for me personally, my whole take on it is I think that the compressed sound has a more fair approach than the raw sound, the more raw approach sound in like the years 2024 and 2025. However, I do think that the sound at GBB 2025 was a lot better compared to 2024. And if the sound is going to continue how it did sound at GBB 2025, I would be very content with how it's going. But yeah, I don't have anything more to add other than
Yeah.
this. But if
Max, do you want to jump on this a little bit? Your take on it. You are a very loud beatboxer, also. In In this case, he mentioned Maxo, which is a beatboxer that uses a lot of air
Mhm.
to create this low end.
Mhm.
But Max, what do you think about the difference between 23 and 25 for you?
Well, me, I wasn't a participant in 23. I did a showcase, but I cannot really compare with this because I had my own sound for the showcase. Though I can compare from the crowd perspective, and what I can say is that the sound in 2023 was sounding a lot better, more beautiful, more refined from the audience, and this year was, yeah, it was raw because the everything, the sound was more raw, but like it was less pleasant to the ear, despite the loudness and the impacts were more present. I feel like the crowds, from a show perspective, despite it is a competition as well, from a music and show perspective, we lose more by keeping the sound raw than having it better controlled like in 2023. And yeah, I quite agree with what Dan said, despite I had a very different opinion before GBB 2025. I was preferring the fairness of the raw sound. But yeah, I think Dan said it quite clearly that despite the compressors and the limiters, despite, I'm not sure there was a limiter in 2023, but
I think there was a limiter in 23, also
was there?
compression.
Okay,
Yeah.
compression, yeah, for sure, but limiter, I was not 100% sure.
For what I have here,
Yeah,
I think it was a limiter.
yeah.
It was compression limiter plus EQ, definitely in 23. So, Wing, I see you trying to say something. I don't know if it's about this, but would you like to jump on this? Because you have a perspective on this that is a little bit different also. So can you give us your take on this?
오케이. 안녕하세요. 일단 전 윙이고요. 제가 너무 할 말이 많은데 제 잉글리시 스킬이 그거만큼 안 돼가지고 우리 소너스한테 부탁을 했으니까 이해 바랍니다.
Okay, hey guys, my name is Wing, and Sonus will be the translator for today. And side note, this is not my 100% profession, but I will try my best to deliver impartial and correct translations as much as possible. Thank you.
Sonus, could you put a little bit the microphone closer to you so I can hear you?
Yes, sir.
어쨌든 저 같은 경우에는 GBB를 스포츠의 영역으로 생각을 하고 있어요.
For me, this take is a little different. I believe that GBB is a field of sports in some sense.
그래서 제가 생각했을 때 스포츠가 좋은 스포츠로 이렇게 유지가 되려면은 이 관객, 관중 이걸 봐주는 그 사람들이 얼마나 좋아하냐. 그러니까 그게 이 씬을 좌지우지한다고 생각을 하고 있습니다.
So for the sports scene, or as beatboxing to be prevalent, I believe that one of the most crucial aspects is the crowd and how much the audience caters to the whole scene, and how much our values bring to the audience.
그래서 이 스포츠업 관계자 이제 분들은 물론 뭐 공정성 이런 것도 당연히 중요하지만 제일 중요하게 생각해야 될 거는 이 스포츠의 재미, 그러니까 얼마나 관중들이 이 스포츠를 사랑해주고 여기다가 돈을 투자할 수 있느냐가 저는 가장 중요하게 생각하는 편입니다.
Okay. So although I do believe impartiality and fairness is a very important trait in the game aspect, but I do think that when it comes to sports, getting entertainments and bringing the aspect of fun from the crowd is one of the most important, I guess, stuffs in the table.
그래서 제가 다양한 뭐 무대도 이렇게 해보고 이렇게 조금 경험해보면서 느꼈던 점은 컴프레서와 리미터는 정말 그 시청자들, 관객들한테 정말 최소한의 예의라고 생각을 해요.
Okay. So based on my rather diverse experiences of stage, I have to assert that compressor and limiter are a two must for any stage, any beatbox stage. They are imperative.
As a beatboxer.
Right.
So 그래서 여기서 이제 주된 논점 중에 하나인 컴프레서 리미터를 사용하면은 댐핑이 큰 사람이 불리해진다? 저는 전혀 그렇게 생각하지 않고 오히려 그거는 큰 사람을 유리하게 만드는 규칙이 아니라 크지 않은 사람은 살아남지도 못하게 끌어내리는 규칙이라고 생각을 해요.
Okay, so the whole point of limiter and compressor nerfing the loud beatboxers, I wholeheartedly have to disagree with that. And on the other hand, I believe that this puts a severe nerf or a severe disadvantage to the people that are trying to bring out their best artistry.
그렇기 때문에 대회 스타일이라는 게 뭐 어떤 비트박서는 이렇게 세밀한 테크닉을 평생 동안 연구한 사람이 있고 어떤 비트박서들은 뭐 하모니를 연구한 사람이 있고 이게 되게 다양한 스타일이 많은데 그게 이 규칙 뭐 100%이 규칙 때문은 아니지만 어쨌든 이런 것 때문에 되게 스타일의 다양성이 줄어들고 되게 큰 비트박서들이 유리하게 작용되는 메타로 자리 잡게 된 것 같아요.
So because of this whole compressor and limiter, not using compressor and limiter, I do believe that a lot of different styles when it comes to beatbox, such as like valuing small but intricate sounds, or valuing musicality, or valuing any vocal aspects of the sound, those aspects are rather being punished by not having limiter or compressor. And I do believe that because of this whole lack of limiter or compressor meta, being loud has become like excessively important aspect in the current meta.
그리고 이게 대회를 재미없게 만든다고 생각을 합니다.
And this makes the competition less fun. Bringing the agenda whole back to the sports thing.
예를 들어서 이번 또 코드피쉬 예시를 들면은 코드피쉬는 소리가 맥소만큼 크지는 않아요. 근데 그렇다고 작은 것도 아니고 소리가 되게 깔끔하고 단단해요.
Okay, so let's bring an, I guess, adequate example of this is Codfish. Of course, Codfish is not as loud as Maxo, but he's not quiet, and he is loud to a certain degree. 말하는 거 이게 맞지?
근데 이 앞에 그 컴프레서 리미터를 사용하지 않는 이 규칙은 이런 사람들을 완전 너프시킨 거라고 생각을 합니다.
So I think the aforementioned rules heavily nerf these sort of beatboxes where they're like not that loud, but they're loud to a certain degree where you can hear them, but they do have like some different I guess vocal styles.
어쨌든 우리가 하는 이 비트박스를 스포츠화 시킨다고 했을 때 아무래도 모두가 공평한 100% 공평함은 저는 있을 수가 없다고 생각을 합니다.
Well, yeah, going back to the topic, or if we were to somehow make the beatbox scene entertaining as more of a sporty aspect, I do think that there isn't 100% equality or fairness to everyone. I think that's realistically impossible.
그렇게 만약에 이게 100% 공평하지가 않다면은 좀 모두가 좋은 쪽으로 규칙이 연구가 돼야지 그냥 컴프 리미터를 해제한다 이거는 공중들 비생각 이런 거를 아예 고려를 안 한 거라고 생각합니다. 여기까지.
Okay, so if it's not 100% fair to everyone, I mean that if that aspect is realistically unachievable, I do believe that we have to at least make efforts to make stuffs a lot more entertaining to cater to the crowd, to generate a large pool of audience, as he said in the previous arguments, and rather than just having a one-way approach of limiting compressors and EQ, not EQ, my bad, compressor and limiter for the sake of limited equality. Yes, that is all to say.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. I'm gonna go back to Max now, but maybe Skiller or Dilo have something to say. When you're going that was very cool. Shout out to you, Sonus, for the translation. That was amazing. I think I've never used the word imperative in my life, so it's actually very impressive. When I raise my hand, okay, so I give you like 30 seconds, 1 minute extra just to finish the thing, because you will have more time, Wing, to talk about more of this, because I know people have answers and replies to this. So Skiller or Dan, do you want to say something in particular about it that before Pacmax jumps in?
Yes, I'll start. First of all, it's a big pleasure to be part of that stream because I believe talking about this topic will is the only way to develop, to improve, and put things on table so we can decide what's better for artists, what's better for judges, what's better for crowd. Because there are many aspects of this conversation, you know. So we have to be extremely honest, and I believe that it's not fair to compare different events because we have many factors that we cannot compare. Uh, First of all, for example, like 2023 GBB, yes, there was way more compression limiter, but we don't know what kind of microphones we used. If we use the same microphones like 2025, this completely changes the whole story because brand new microphone will act totally different compared to a microphone that is used for beatbox events for 2 years. So maybe this is another aspect of the things, what microphones we use and how exposed is the right word, how exposed they are. Because I think this year we had this problem with exposed mics that were not the same with each other. And thanks to Christoph, who really did his best to find the best couple of microphones that sound similar so we can proceed in this situation. I want to say something very short because yeah, it's long topic, but for me, it's very important to be entertaining for the crowd. I believe that in the end of the day, this is the reason why we are doing any kind of art to present it to people. But at the same time, we talk about competition. So for this competition, we need to make sure that we're gonna try to make as much like we should try to make the subjectivity less. I know that subjectivity will be always part of the whole human being beatbox art, but we have to try to do it as less as possible in order to be able judges to take right decisions, the artists to feel good on stage, and of course crowd to be entertained and enjoy the performances. Like for judges, I remember because I was judging 2023 Grand Beatbox Battle, and for me it was extremely difficult to judge, especially the eliminations, because everybody was blasting on the microphone and everybody was sounding kind of similar, like in terms of power and level. And I believe as an artist and as a beatboxer and even as a like audience, I believe that's not fair because power is not a gift. Power is something that you work a lot to get. And I have to say that power has been always a super important thing in order to win a beatbox battle. Since maybe 2005, power always is a key feature. Of course, not the main feature, not the most important, but power always been part of the game. So I believe that beatboxers should work on power, and that's why I totally like more, and I think it's more fair to have less compression. I'm not talking about without any compression, maybe gentle compression that makes glue of the sound, so it can bring the sounds more entertaining for the people. But I believe we need more fairness, and I believe that raw sound is giving a little bit more fairness for all kind of beatboxers. Yeah, it's difficult topic, but that's for in one sentence I can say that for me that's a step in the right direction, and of course we can find a way how we can balance, like try to do not punish any style of beatboxers. You know, that's not the idea to punish quiet beatboxers or to punish loud beatboxers. The idea is to find the best formula that will work for judges, for crowd, and for artists, because these artists work like years to make routines, to practice their sound, to polish every single detail. So we have to think about all the aspects.
Yeah. Well, me as a moderator, I'm not gonna jump into my opinion so much. I'm gonna leave that up to you. But I can say that I agree with both of the takes. So we will talk about future solution after this. This will be the topic that is the most talked about. I think everybody is here just for this topic, like compression and limiter versus more of a raw sound, and we have another type of the EQ or well, what is called light processing, no, that we will jump on this topic also. Dan, do you have something to say about this that is not been said before, or you want to jump just to put your take on it?
Yeah, just listening to everyone's takes. It's fairly interesting. Yeah, I just wrote some stuff down because it made me think along the way. I'm not sure how processed GBB25 was because I missed the sound check on the day. It all changed, didn't it, in 24 hours? But from my perspective, the difference between 23 and 25 was quite little when I was judging because I did both. I didn't go to 24. I don't know how it sounded. I can tell the limiter's not there. Well, I would say it's hard to say what's the best sound. Context really matters, like what Skiller said. You know, beatbox is more saturated in Japan now, so it's not as exciting 2 years later. There's been about 20 high-level events in one country. So using the crowd to decide is impossible. Most live sound comes down to the artist, to be honest. And in my opinion, the ability to be versatile after the context is really important. So for me, if I know day one sound check, it's a process sound system, I go to my hotel and I prepare overnight, I might relieve the volume of my loudest sets so I can prepare with a bit more diaphragm or be more controlled. Now I don't need to unleash more heavy sound on that set. But knowledge is really crucial for the beatboxers. This is an important part. Most of them are just really talented artists. They aren't mixing and mastering. They might not know what a limiter is or what compression or EQ does. So they won't even know how to adapt. So maybe it's worth hosting a mini workshop to explain that the limiter and the compression might be squashing the frequencies and what that means about how they can prepare. And on the raw versus the processed debate, I think they're as fair as each other. They just have their differences in advantage and disadvantage, but certain beatboxers might just be at a deficit, unfortunately, how they are. So, I mean, for me, I quite prefer a little bit of a compressed system just because it makes things sound a bit better, like a little buff. Like Dilip in 2023 wouldn't have been able to be just that good without it, and so we get that glorious moment. It's a fine debate. There's no correct answer, but what does matter is the goal. Like, does GBB want to find the best objective beatboxer? Because if that's the case, then compression should be minimalized and a limiter should be light, maybe just to protect the room so we don't all lose our ears. But if it wants to be more fun and exciting, then these processings are great. And also, one more topic that's crucial about this debate is the qualification method. We need to think about that. Like, there's wildcard winners and there's live event winners. I bet if someone was a nerd and went and took each GBB and then compared the wildcard winners and how far they got in the compressed events versus non-compressed events, or if you took the live winners and how far did they get without limiters, you'd find that that would help a lot, because you can't judge dynamics when in a wildcard. That's very hard, especially when we're allowing EQ in on these videos. Now it makes it really tough to hear how loud people are. But to conclude it, the most important thing probably, a fantastic, well-rounded beatbox artist will always sound good on all of them. So just a little mini example from my experience, I can take Wing. Wing sounds great all the time. Not loud, not quiet, just the beatbox. Wing is already winning most people before it happens, but then the context matters. The better battle I may win. And then some of those top dogs, the ones that the beatbox community might consider the top level beatboxers, generally just sound great. And I don't think the top 15 or 20 beatboxers in the world sound bad on a raw system or a limited one. So that's just food for thought.
Good take on that. On that note, I'm gonna give it to you, Pac Max, and then to Christoph. Okay, just on that in that order. Just throwing it out there. Is it? are we building with this type of sound system a beatboxer that has to be, in this case, loud no matter what? Like, are we gonna penalize small sounds even if they are quiet but they are great, but it's very difficult to make them sound on a live stage? Because we see the difference between beatboxers that come from Discord or from online battles with crazy sounds that they have already a style built and they cannot show on stage, right? So people that are more old school like me, Skiller, Danny's been not old school but for a long time. We always have in mind that the sounds that work is the ones that we will use on a live stage, but not always is like that for every beatboxer. And I don't know, it's just throwing it out there. Pac-Max, what you wanted to say? I hope you still remember what you wanted to say back in
Yeah, I wrote actually.
Okay,
It's
yes. Write it down. Cool.
I actually wanted to throw in this live stream a few things that the chat has said, and by the chat I mean Gillard, GBB champion, and Remix, third place GBB,
Yeah,
who
so
both
stuff.
have opposite opinions despite they are both really loud beatboxers. So I'm just gonna read a few messages they said. So Gillard said, imagine in GBB23 someone that never worked on his sound quality is battling against me and sound as good as me. That is not fair. For a battle, you need to learn to sound good on stage. Battles are not really an artist expression place. Concerts show are there for it. You can do the style that you want and sound good. You just have to work for it, like Gino River. And yes, of course, I'm afraid to get nerfed. I work all my beatbox live for sounding good on stage. So why would I get nerfed because some people didn't work on that? So that's his words and opinion. And on the other side, we have Remix saying, but at the same time, it's a battle event. Where do you draw the line in what each person gets? It should be about being able to adapt and perform. And that's coming from someone who was a bit of a victim to the sound system. But I know I need to adapt to it and perform better for you guys, which I fully intend on doing. I actually just wanted to throw these things and see where the debate go from there.
All right. Christoph, please let us know your take on this.
Yeah, I want to reflect on a couple of things and also really quick throw in some new factors that even the beatboxers might not be aware of, because Killer touched on something that during the sound check, while we were very crucial about in 25 to make it impartial as possible, we also realized that the same microphone with the same label on it, same brand, same type, same year of making or anything, they do sound different sometimes. So that's even a factor.
Yeah.
It's really important that the beatboxers use the same microphones. That's something that's been a debate, and for this year and for other years, we're gonna make it a standard that they do use the same microphones, because it is sometimes nerfing somebody. Also, at this point, we learn to focus airflow so much that we can clip the capsule of the microphone, which is not a digital clipping. It's not happening on the mixer. It cannot be averted with limiter, nor compression, nor EQ, because it's happening at the capsule. So if you push too hard, you get this weird cracking sound, and sometimes with some very powerful air movement sounds like a dry kick with a bit more air, or the bubbly breathing. Some of the microphones doing this weird boop. I don't know how to explain it. It just does something and the sound is not coming through as you intended it because you push too much air. So we also have to learn how to control the airflow, because we got to the point of power when we are physically overwhelming the instrument, the microphone. I can be a loud guitar player on acoustic, but if I break the string, it doesn't matter. And also one more physics kind of thing, that getting crowd opinion that we were listening to GBB and it sounded this and that. The reason it's not always legit to listen to, because rooms sound different, sometimes even within steps. So I go 5 steps, 10 steps away from where I'm standing, and it turns out that I'm in a point where the room has some negative interference. So let's say low frequencies bounce back to each other and they cancel each other out, and I feel like there's no bass, and I move 10 steps away and I feel like that my head is gonna fall off because the bass is so heavy. And rooms are rooms, and it's always going to be a thing that you might be standing on a bad spot. This is, by the way, if you're a crowd participant and you want to have the best sound for your experience and you feel like the sound is not good, try moving, by the way. This is always a really good approach. And other than these new things to put into the discussion, I also wanted to really quickly reflect on everything said. I do agree that the crowd's pleasing, not pleasing, but making them feel good and comfortable with the sound experience, very important. But also I do think that in a battle is a battle and not just an artist expression. In a battle, you can even win a battle with not beatboxing, quote unquote, but with a nice battle move in the right time and with good beatboxing at the same time, of course. In a battle, impact is always going to be important, but we have a saying, at least in Hungarian, that the sword makes the shield. So in my opinion, over time, styles that shine always were rotating. Around 2009, technicality and fast beat was everything. So everybody leveled up their technicality, and now everybody is doing technical stuff. Then lip rolls and bass became a stuff with Napalm. Now everybody has lip rolls and crazy basses, and now it seems like overall power is a thing, but I think this is a phase in beatbox life until somebody comes and says that, hey, you know what? I'm gonna make my style and be able to be technical, be able to be basic, be able to be loud, but still do those sounds and make the delicate sounds shine. Because the problem not necessarily is that it's a delicate sound, but the problem is that we try to approach it more as an entertainer artist in our concert, but this is a battle. So in a battle, you have to behave a little bit differently if you want to win. If you want to just showcase your art and okay with losing, that's completely fine too. And that can also have the impression on generations even, And I think handling the microphone is really about millimeters, not even centimeters. It's millimeters we're talking about. And also in the past years, since this became more of a thing to have raw audio, we discovered, at least so many of the beatboxers I know and myself, discovered that those millimeters, how I place the microphone in front of my mouth, can be the reason why I'm not loud enough. It's not even loudness, it's mic technique that we are lacking, and it's something you work for. So in my opinion, I don't have any problem with light compression, light reverb, light EQing to make it sound a little bit better. But processing as heavy as 23, I do have a problem with, because it is, in my opinion, actually pushing backwards the evolving of the techniques, the evolving of making my style shine in this environment, in this situation. And also, one last thing, and then I'm done. I had a talk with, I think it was Eon, who told me that when they do the sound check, or when he does the sound check, he goes into the room, and this, by the way, ties a lot of things that I talked about together, tries the microphone and also tries different frequencies, lip rolls and basses, because in some rooms, it's physics again, the room has a different resonant frequency, so sometimes different bass notes sounds more powerful or sounds a little bit more weak. And as Dilo said, if you have a sound check, you can test those frequencies, and you can remember, maybe even have a little piano app in your phone and remember which notes to hit, which notes to start from in your routines. So you adapt to the sound just like you would adapt in a tennis match. If you play on dirt, some of the best tennis players is Rafael Nadal, but he always sucked on the hard and the grass because he was shining on the dirt. And other tennis players like Andy Roddick with super powerful serves, he was shining on the hard court because the serve of his style was better then. So my most important point is, as I'm not sure who said it, I think it was Dilo. The most important is that beatboxers are aware ahead of time of the equipment, of the sound treatment, and after the sound check, they have time to adapt to the circumstances. And that is, in my opinion, the most important next step to take within the topic of sound.
All right, then and after wing, okay?
Sorry. There. Yeah. So I completely agree with everyone here. To be honest, everyone's making a good point. And I just wanted to add some things, just as an artist who has been to 23, 24, 25, and even 21. And yeah, this is, I guess, my super subjective opinion as a participating artist who's been on stage, who's been to the sound checks, who's been in the crowd, parts of the crowd in the back, near the front, and things like that. And this is just what I believe is best for the community and best for sound and competitions and whatnot. But basically, I would say, I think Pacmax, you kind of pointed out Julard's point about how, yeah, it's a battle, and there's these beatboxers who work on their power and skill. Or you also, I know you said that, like, they work on their power for so long, and like it's something in your style that shouldn't be punished. And I genuinely believe that having compressed sound does not put powerful beatboxers at a disadvantage. It does not. Like, I personally, again, it's my subjective opinion, from what I've heard in the crowd, I think that, like, aside from only, I guess, Maxo, like Julard, Lency, Napalm, those guys sounded huge and massive still, even with the compressed sound. They sounded super powerful, in my opinion. And that's what I think, it just is saying that it's putting a nerf on the powerful beatboxers. I believe that just isn't true. And people, I believe, yeah, if power is something you should work on. And also, I do believe that if you are a quiet beatboxer, heavily compressed sound isn't going to save you, because in 2023, I came into it with the approach of, okay, I need to push all my sounds. And I was pushing all of my sounds to the absolute limit. And again, there's different things to it, like, do I push and do I not? Anyways, but I also think I agree that also adapting to the certain sound systems helps too, because it took me freaking that long to learn. I have to actually do that at the sound of GBB 2025. And I believe, yeah, adapting to the sound is good, but I also think that, adapting to, let's say, a more raw sound system, it's essentially, in my opinion, I think, because for me, what I had to do was, quote unquote, I guess, dumb down my style, because yes, you are adapting to the sound system, and I agree that, being versatile is good, but I think with the raw sound system, you don't even have the option to be versatile, because with the raw sound system, the only sounds that are going to be coming out, and yes, I agree that the different rooms and different sub bass frequencies, certain subs will sound more powerful, and I know that like certain notes will be more room shaky and whatnot. But yeah, the only sounds that will be like the quote unquote power sounds are like the like those big sounds, subby sounds, and and yeah, so I just don't think like you have the option to be versatile with more raw sound. And I also don't think that the raw sound, in my opinion, I don't think it pushes the beatbox community because of that. It's because that, sure, I agree that with Christoph, how it could be a meta thing, but in my personal opinion, I don't think it's a meta thing, and I think that if we continue with the raw sound, you know, it's just like if you aren't clipping the mic or doing these big sub power sounds, you as a beatboxer, like I just think there's so much more disadvantages to raw sound than there are disadvantages to the compressed sound. And I think, yes, it's a sport, it's a competition, it's a battle, and I agree with like all those arguments. But I also think battling itself is an art form. There's so much more to battling than just one layered counters. All right, he does some lip roll beats, and then the other guy rebuttals with more liberal beats. I think there can be layers to counters. Like for example, River versus Inertia at the 7 to Smoke. River countering Inertia with a 7 beat. You have to really think about it. Like I think like it's like in rap battles where there's like bars and that they have like certain analogies and certain layers to their things. How River did a 7 beat. If you think about it, Inertia lost, or Inertia battled a French guy who did a 7. There's like layers to it, opposed to just countering with only big sounds, things like that. But yeah, I just wrote down a couple of my points. Again, super subjective opinion, but this is just how I feel as an artist in the past couple of GBBs.
Yeah, that's a good point. Then subjective, but here's two facts about the things that they have been said. A fact that is, if we have like a compressed and limiter, you are it's a benefit for people who has no power, but a downside of having a raw sound, you are taking away from the versatility of styles. You are taking away things from people, from their own routines, to adapt for this sound system because it's raw and their sounds cannot come out. So we are taking away some parts of routines that they are already done and developed, and styles. And I understand everybody's points. I'm just putting the facts out there. And we have to choose what is going to be next, so everybody feels like it's fair, okay? Because that's what raw sound give us, and that we don't take away also the style, or that everything becomes like sub basic lip rolls, click rolls, and stuff like this. So we have more variety of styles, and that will evolve very well in the beatbox world. Wing, you were next in this. We're gonna keep it going a little bit more with this topic, just with Dan, and let's see where we stand with this. And I will go to the next topic a little bit. Sonus, yeah.
오케이, 일단 제가 아까부터 계속 말하고자 하고 싶은 포인트를 댄이 너무 잘 짚어줘가지고 일단 그거랑 댄이랑 의견이 같고요.
So what I wanted to say clearly aligns with Dan. Dan said it. Dan really pointed out stuff that are important. So I do wholeheartedly agree with him on that. And
그리고 원래 안 나오는 기술이 뭐 이렇게 작게 들린다 이게 아니라 평소에 잘 쓰이고 잘 나오던 기술도 이 음향이면, 그러니까 그죠, 컴프레서랑 리미터가 안 나오는 음향이면 그게 작아져 버리게 만드는 게 저는 가장 큰 문제라고 생각을 해요.
So I want to point out another aspect is that it's not that we're using sounds that are not coming out on mic. The problem is that the sounds that are even not loud, quote unquote, but like the sounds that come out live for instance, codfish's like nose, throat bass, they even nerf those sounds if you completely dismiss the factor of limiters and compression. So I think those are the problems.
어쨌든 그거를 찍고
Yeah.
싶었고 그리고
That's
아까
what I wanted to address.
아까
And
그 크리스토프가 말해준 것 중에 이제 테니스 이제 그 그냥 적응 문제에 대해서 이제 흙과 클레이 이 차이를 말을 했었었는데
so, and I want to briefly address on the Christoph's and analogy of tennis regarding 흙과 clay,
흙과 클레이.
dirt and clay reference or analogy, if I'm not mistaken.
근데 그거는 보는 이들에게 관중들에게 재미 요소예요.
But here's the thing, that's the fun aspect for the crowd. Those are the aspects of entertainment where that leads the crowd and makes it more watchable.
근데 우리는 지금 2019년도 이후로 뷰수도 줄어들고 있고 관중수도 줄어들고 있어요.
그대로 가요?
그냥
다 괜찮아?
21년도 이후로 뷰도 줄어들고 관중수도 줄어들고 있다.
So after on the other hand, GBB after 2019, our views and the attractions are on a constant decline.
이게 스포츠로서 결국 재미가 없어진다는 게 문제예요. 이 룰들이 그 특정 비트박서들만 유리하게 작용을 하기 때문에.
So the problem is that this rule is unlike the tennis analogy. It just makes it less fun and less tractions and less entertaining. And that also accounts for the fact that it only buffs the quote unquote loud beatboxers, which do not cater to the public in some sense.
결국 여기서 말하는 그 뭐 아트폼, 뭐 배틀이든 공연이든 뭐 뭐든 콘서트든 봐주는 사람이 있어야 전 유지된다고 생각합니다.
Okay, so at the end of the day, I believe that every art form, especially in beatbox, there needs to be a large pool or a certain amount of pool of the audience to sustain the art form that we have. And
그래서 어쨌든 저는
그 모든 사람들이 더 잘
그러니까 재밌게 됐으면 좋겠다.
돈 더
그렇게 정리해 주시면 좋겠어요.
And I want this whole art form to be entertaining, and I want the beatbox to blow up as much as possible, and I want everyone to have fun and entertainment. And that's what I want to address in this whole argument. Thank you.
Fred's gone, so I guess I'll just follow up from that. Yeah, Wing's right. So's Den. They're right. That's like, it's becoming objective now. It's just right. I mean, the thing though that's been talked about is the trend of power. But that is not a trend. Never is, never has been. It's just the trait of the best. That's it. So like, let's take the wildcard online style, right? Half of them are great on mic. That's the point. Like the fact that it's 50% proves it all. I wrote a couple of examples. So I've heard Dropical, Slyku, and Heartcell, for example, have problems on the mic. And I've heard Ice and Osis, and like kind of, I mean, Remix not really online well, but came from there. All three of them slot right in with the powerhouses. But before that, none of us really could have predicted. If you put all six, you can't really predict it because it's a style. That's the point. This is a style. This intricate sound textures thing is a style. Some can do that style loud and some can do it quiet. It even applies to the tech era. Alem versus Elise happened. The louder one, Alem, won. They were both techie, drum techie. One was a louder drum techie guy. So if Slyku battled Ice, Ice would win with the same style. And even with the bass one, that applies too. I've heard less loud bassy people lose to the bassy ones that are now loud. So power's just a tool of win. That's just a tool. I wanted to talk on the thing with Den, which honestly, again, it's a little bit subjective, but from my time in the panel, just a little side note, I would actually take Den as the example of my own personal threshold of volume. I think Den is as loud as you need to be. You can be louder, but I don't think you should go much quieter. I feel the improvement of volume from Den without a style change so much, dodging the meta sounds. So just for reference, I think human volume, that's around the bar of what it takes. That's just my own observation. But what Den said about the compression is so spot on. It's perfect. It doesn't save a quiet beatboxer, and it doesn't nerf a loud one. It just rounds it out a bit. It's nice. Raw sound is like, it's about the versatility. It's tough because the power sounds, these are meta. They're a tactic that makes you sound best on the mic, but sometimes it's forced, isn't it? Like, I've spent time with Alem over the years who's had to chuck these sounds in. Like, I remember I had a chat with him in the car in Asia one time, and he was taking the piss out of applying those sounds just because you have to. That's a funny one, really, because yeah, it's a sad story, because if you took the top 5 best beatboxer without power sounds in the past versus the one now, on a processed event, the power sound guy will be a tiny bit better. But in a raw event, clear, done, not even needed to happen. And that could be a shame. So should it be that way? I mean, look, this is my 2 cents on it. Competitively, yes. That's because the competition's on mic. So the best on mic beatboxer should have the advantage. So controversially, I think more raw sound. If it's all about the competitive aspect, that's better. But crucially, what Dan also said, artistically, hell no. That's completely, like Dan said, for the community, the direction for the community, I'm on board with that. I'll go on the same boat as Dan and we'll sail off into the artistic paradise. That's the better way. That is, for me, artistically, a bit of compression and limitation and EQ, this stuff. Yeah, it just seems like the better answer. That being said, you do miss one thing though, and that would be sometimes here and there, you get this raw experience in a battle of human power. Sometimes. I once watched Ash versus Vatang behind closed doors. And with compression and all of these things, that would have squished how good that truly was. Sometimes the raw sound gives you that raw human experience of true power. We will lose that, but that's okay. It just happens here and there, and it can still come out a little bit in the compressor zone. I think compression and EQ, that's the way. I think Wing and Den are right. Just think about those factors, because if it's about the competition and the best mic beatboxer, then no, it should be all raw. So it's kind of up to what the competition is trying to do.
Yeah, I'm gonna say first of all, sorry to Sonus and Wing that I had to leave because they were ringing the bell and it was a chaos in 1 second in my house. So I didn't want to cut you off or feel like I didn't care about what you were saying. But everybody's making good points, and I'm gonna pause it for a second because we have this public debate, and I think we all have it in private. We have this debate of what is best, and you, of course, everybody will think what is best for them first, and then what is best for the rest of beatboxers. What I see here is different points of view, like Wing having more the bigger picture of we do this also for the audience. We want this to grow, and if it sounds better, then we will have more views, which will have more better prices, better money prices, but like bigger careers, and that's a good point that we're not discussing in the sound per se, but what the sound can mean to the future, and that's also a very, very fair point, and I think that's important to think about. What I wanted to say is that we discuss this, and normally what happens online and what happens in private conversations, the negative will always come out, right? it's not like if something is done right, that people will say, oh, you know what, the organization was so cool, or the monitors were on point, or this was perfect. No, we always tend to go for the negative first, because that's what piss you off, you know. So you will be like, okay, I had a bad sound, or I didn't like the sound. So that will be what is frustrating and what comes from out from your mouth first. So if we are like this, imagine people online who will only say that, you know. And that's a discussion that people had. And as you can see from people that differ from opinions, I think most of us will agree with everything that is being said, even though it's different opinions. You will agree. Yeah, how crazy is that, right? I can agree with Pac Max and Christoph, and I can agree with Dan and Dan and with Wing and with Skiller. And I'm not like I'm hearing everybody, and I'm not like, nah. There's no way. There is a point every time that I'm like, oh, that makes sense. Oh, that makes sense. I hear the next person and say, oh, that makes sense. So we will have to put all of these ideas together and make like a middle lane, you know, something called light processing that Christoph, we have it here on the notes, light processing, which could be one of the options next, which is not totally processing, not raw, but something in between. What we would have if it was just light processing, Christoph?
Yeah. So I have multiple points, but
Yeah,
about
yeah.
this
Sorry,
one,
you were raising your hand
uh,
also. So yeah.
yeah, sorry, I'll be very, very quick just to reflect back on others, because I think Dan was saying that we are not punishing loud beatboxers because they are still feel loud.
Mhm.
And I get that point, but in my opinion, it's the other way around. We punish the loud beatboxers by the others being louder than they are. It's not that they sound not loud, but others sound louder, so their loudness in the comparison in the eyes of the judges is not as obvious, and they trained for it. And why helping the quiet and more musical sounds when we are kind of, you know, making this comparison like in that sense unfair. But I do see the point that that's not the only thing that matters, and I do see the point that it is pushing one way of narrative. So that's why this light processing idea comes in. But of course, what is light processing is I can get very technical with it, and maybe I should, because otherwise it's not really explaining it well. First of all, in my eyes, light processing doesn't include the limiter, because limiter can be a very, very tricky thing to set. And since every beatboxer has a different gain coming in, we can only set the limiter for the loudest beatboxer, but then we kind of benefit the loudest beatboxer. Light compression would mean like super light ratio, 2-to-1, 3-to-1, possibly multi-band, meaning that it reacts to frequency ranges depending on the frequency range and not the whole mix as a one. So it means that if I do a sub bass, not the whole volume, the lows and the highs of the sub bass is getting turned down, only on the subs a little bit. So it makes the texture of the bass come out better. But these processes should be set for some of the loudest beatboxers with the loudest beatboxers, because it's going to be a unified setting. It's very important also to have a unified setting and one microphone. So it's still, everybody has to adapt to the situation. And of course, then it would mean a little bit more EQing than just finding room frequencies, so there's no feedback, but more shaping the microphone into an industry-ready sound, still keeping in mind that do as little as possible, because some frequencies with some beatboxers are super strong, some frequencies are super weak. It's the difference of the mouth, and we need to hear that difference. Judges need to hear that difference. Also, it would mean a little bit of reverb, not a long one, not a big echoey one, not something that changes over time for the singing or whatever, but to make everything sound a little bit more wet and again industry standardized. But I have to say something in this topic with the light processing, with the processing. I think we are getting to a point where we a little bit start to forget what beatbox really sounds like. Social media does not reward raw sound, that's for sure. Everybody has different approaches to sell their music, sell their talent, and some of the very, very, very heavily processed sounds and videos are performing insanely well, which I'm super happy for, by the way. But those are sometimes a little bit of the standards, what we had the debate back in the day in the music industry with the auto-tune and pitch correction. Bruno Mars will sound good with or without auto-tune, that's for sure. But even Bruno Mars put a little bit of pitch correction to make it as perfect as possible. So if we can borrow from some stuff that already happened in the music industry and try to use it to our advantage, I think we could skip some time, and that's where again the light processing comes in. That okay, let's try to merge all the approaches that we talked about here. Let's try to come up with something that is very hardly scalable and say like, oh, this is light processing and this is not light processing, but something that the artists who are performing that day and that GBB are agreeing to, all on board with, notified in advance. With the microphones type, they can have a vote on it, majority wins. The amount of processing they can have a vote on it, majority wins. Because at the end of the day, those artists who perform in that GBB, they need to be feeling comfortable, and the crowd who comes to GBB, they need to feel entertained. They need to feel that everything sounds super nice, but at the same time, we kind of keep the rawness, so we don't go like super polished, super compressed, super perfectionized. I don't know if it's a word, perfectionized audio, but try to merge the two words together. And yeah, I think that would be the approach for the future.
Okay, Skiller, you had your hand raised.
Yes, I'll be also very fast. What I like is that right now we are starting to put the conversation into the solution era of this topic, because of course I agree with some of the topics, some of the things that most of the people mentioned. So yeah, there are, I can totally agree with most of them, but I think the idea is not to say yes or no. The idea of this conversation should be what amount of EQ, what amount of compression, what amount of something we need in order to create better better situation for the artists, for the judges, and for the crowd. And I really like the idea for this light processing that Christoph mentioned. I believe that that's something that we need to set as a standard. And if being also a competitor, I know how important is for me, for example, to know in what conditions I will participate. So yes, I know that the venue will sound different with the same settings that the venue, for example, compared to my studio, but be able to adapt, to feel how the compression reacts on my loud sounds, to feel how the EQ is going. So I'll be able to build routines, and I'll be able to control, and I'll have more possibilities to adapt live on stage if I know what is the amount of the light processing and what is allowed and what will be allowed in live events. At the same time, for judges, this will help a lot, because we see how controversial the beatbox community is going in the last years, and this will help us to get the right decisions, because yeah, it's competition we all enjoy, but at the end of the day, the judges have to take a decision, you know, and then all the hate goes to the judges, and judges have to be able to say why they vote for somebody. And I believe light processing or something like this. I mean, this in this direction will help to enjoy, to stand out the advantages and the disadvantages and the adaptation skills of every beatboxer. Because yes, of course, as a judge, I will never give high points for a beatboxer who is blasting 5 minutes on the microphone like maximum power. So this is also like a myth. Let's break it. Like raw sound system doesn't cue the enjoyment. I mean, this is not the reason why the views are going down. Let's be honest. I mean, there are many reasons why this is happening, and probably it's another. Uh, I believe the truth is somewhere in the middle, and we have to find. That's the idea. We have to find the formula that will work.
Okay. Wing, you want to say something to that? Yeah, I see you want to answer. Just a reply.
제가 생각했을 때 아이디어 중 하나가 일단 기본적인 이제 컴프레서랑 EQ를 걸고 나머지 그 사람들의 강점들, 비트박서들 누구 뭐 큰 댐핑이 강점인 사람이 있고 누구는 뭐 쪼개기가 강점인 사람이 있고 누구는 베이스가 강점인 사람들이 있는데 그거를 마이크로 차이를 두는 거는 어떤지.
So I have a different, or rather, a different approach when it comes to sounds. I feel like after allowing EQs, compressions, and limit like the basic settings, why don't we differentiate the maximum potential of each beatboxers? For instance, like some are loud as power, some have intricate styles, some have crazy bass, and why don't we somehow balance these out by having a different microphones instead of like the whole EQ setting?
왜냐면은 축구 선수들을 예로 들면은 뭐 누구는 슈팅을 잘하고 누구는 드리블을 잘하고 누구는 스프린트가 빠르고 이런데 그들이 모두 같은 축구화를 신냐 이건 아니잖아요. 그러니까 본인의 장점에 맞는 그런 축구화를 신고 같은 규칙 안에서 플레이를 하니까 그걸 보는 이제 관중들도 재밌는 거잖아요.
좋다. So I'll take another example. For instance, like when you think of football players, didn't say soccer for you, Diego. Football players, you wear different football shoes, right? You wear different football shoes on the same ground, and because one, I guess like a guy is better at shooting, some guys are better at dribbling, some guys are, I guess, better at defense. They all have their adequate respective soccer shoes to somehow make their to quote unquote make their potentials bloom to the fullest. So I believe that this method could also be an alternative.
저번에 크리스토프가 저한테 마이크를 하나를 쓰는 이유가 둘이 그 다른 마이크를 쓰고 있다가 한 사람의 마이크가 터져버리면은 그 뒤에는 이제 공정하지 않기 때문에라고 했는데.
So Christoph mentioned before to me that it's
작년 GBB에서.
작년 GBB에서. In last GBB, the reason why we are using a single mic instead of two microphones is because if one mic 터진다고? Okay. If one mic if one mic gets broken by one beatboxer, it'll be impartial. It'll be partial and unfair.
근데 그냥 개인 마이크, 본인이 가장 잘 쓸 수 있는 그런 개인 마이크를 들고 와서 그냥 기본적인 세팅만 돼 있는 상태에서 개인 마이크를 연결해서 쓰면은 그냥 본인이 그걸 관리하면 되니까 그 소리를 이 하드웨어의 데미지를 안 주고서 소리를 내는 것도 저는 이제 역량이라고 생각하기 때문에 이게 댐핑이 아무리 커도 잡는 마이크, 잡는 스피커 마냥 다 터트리면 그게 저는 좋은 예술가라고 생각을 하지 않거든요.
Okay. So I feel like that problem can also be solved by bringing individual microphones, and they themselves can bring out their own microphones, which they feel like they know a degree of whether this sound would break the microphone or not. And I believe that that is also one of the key attributes of being an artist, is knowing one's limit and one's adequate frequencies and whatnot for the best performance.
그래서 비트박서들도 이제 본인의 스타일에 맞는 마이크를 뭐 찾아보고 뭐 연구하고 그에 맞춰서 쓰는 스킬도 이렇게 하고 이런 것들이 앞으로의 비트박스 공연 문화나 배틀 문화에 훨씬 큰 발전을 줄 것 같고, 그리고 이게 진짜 모르잖아요. 그 메시가 아디다스 협찬 받고 뭐 호날두가 나이키 협찬 받는 것처럼 우리도 난 그러지 못한다고 절대로 우리는 진짜 큰 포텐셜을 가지고 있다고 생각하기 때문에 이런 쪽으로도 고려를 해봤으면 하는 바람입니다.
So I feel like this would be another interesting aspect in the future of beatbox, because like Ronaldo and Messi are obviously getting sponsors for their individual soccer shoes, and I feel like we could also get sponsors as like beatboxers if all the things blow up, and if we use our individual microphones, you know, to adjust to our artistry. And I feel like this is also a this could be the 형 마지막으로 했던 거 다시 한번
마지막에 내가 뭐라 했더라?
잠깐만. My bad. I am reprocessing his wordings for a moment.
우리도 난 큰 포텐셜을 가지고 있다고 생각한다.
Okay, we do. I believe that we do have a big potential, like those people, like soccer analogy, and I think that if we have our individual microphones catered to our own settings, which bring out our maximum potentials, but at the same time we have the basic EQs and compressions for everybody else as the same ground, as in like the soccer playground, and our microphones as being our soccer shoes. I think that's one of the key. That I think that would also, you know, bring a positive aspect to our beatbox future.
그리고 마지막으로 저는 그 마이크를 돌려 쓰는 게 너무 싫고 그 제 건강이 너무 걱정돼. 이게 할 때마다 수명이 깎이는 기분입니다.
그대로 말게. Okay, and also I do want to point out that I really am against using same microphone, as I do feel that that is not hygiene, and I think that also brings deficits to my health. He wanted to say
Okay.
it's straightforward, so I delivered.
I understand that part. Shout out to you, because for me it's very interesting that you are continuing to see the bigger picture. Like everybody brings their own microphone, like as a sponsor, like in the UFC with the logo in the shorts. You know, it's kind of like curious that you have that vision, and maybe might help artists in the future. I agree with the hygiene. Yes, I always bring my own microphone. But I'm sure Christoph, it's Christoph first and Dan after, will have something to say, at least about fairness with using different mics and different EQs. And that's a topic that I'm pretty sure we all talk about. And for the record, before, sorry, Christoph, people was asking why is this debate happening. It's because this debate happened already closed doors. This has been we talked about this for many years, and SBX has been talking with artists constantly for years for feedback to get the best outcome possible for the sound on a live event. So this is kind of a demonstration. What would it be on a random call with artists like this? So you can see that there is things going on, and not just the negative that is being said online or the comments that you might read. It's more of showing you what happened during the last years, just to get somewhere with the sound. So hopefully one day we don't have to have this conversation and everybody will be happy, which I don't think it will happen ever, like that everybody's happy 100%, but we're trying to get there. Christoph.
Yeah. So first of all, I also really appreciate and admire and like the approach of looking for the bigger picture all the time, and that's very cool. And I think within limits of a competition, there's still a lot to do. Of course, this is a damn young art form for sure. These competitions of GBB, correct me if I'm wrong, but this was the 16th year, right? As far as I remember, whatever. Let's round up and let's say 25 years of competing. That's nothing. It's still super young, and I'm super happy that we are doing these conversations to make it better and to make the future even brighter for beatboxing. But still, for competition standpoint, if we allow different EQs, different microphones, different everything, on the judges, it's gonna be a very hard job. And not even that, it's a different category. It's the same discussion as with the loop stations.
It will be a showcase, right?
Why
It will be kind of a showcase kind of
exactly
type,
it's more like an artistic showcase category, which by the way, stay tuned for, because we have some moves on that very, very soon to be announced. And actually, if we go down that road, why not everybody having their own sound technician? Why not everybody have their own mixer table, everything set basically for a standardized top volume, which you can limit your setup and you beatbox into your sound however you want to sound like. And that's a good vision, but in my opinion, it's not the solo category of Grand Beatbox Battle. It's a different category, and a very cool category, by the way, and I very would look forward to see that. Still, there's still a lot to take from the approach to make everything sound super nice for the crowd, but still keep the fairness and the rawness of the category. Because in my opinion, what we are robbing a lot is the human rawness of the category. Because there could be two approaches. One approach saying that people need magic, people need the idea of something almost unobtainably beautiful, or sorry if there's viewers super young, but you know, people need the idea of monsters, elves, Santa Claus, whatever. But there's the other approach of saying that, hey, I think it's super beautiful that we give the gift to each other, that we are these characters, we are in our human form, are these characters being raw, being not unprocessed, but in a sense unprocessed, not changing our sound in a battle where there need to be comparison of the skill. Because if, let's say, somebody gets like a super good sound engineer, then what happens? The power aspect, that for now it was a practice, as Skiller said, it's not something that you're born with, you work for it. Now it's on somebody else's shoulders. And maybe you're a quieter beatboxer, but somebody makes a super impressive sound for you, and you might win a battle because your impact is bigger because of your sound engineer. It still has to be, in my opinion, about the beatbox skill, the sound quality skill, and we can do an other category where these things are more prominent or allowed or whatever goes. And yeah, as for the sponsorizations, I have to say it's already happening, although it's not for the individual beatboxer, it's for the event for now. And also that can be an event organizer situation, like, hey, I have a sponsoration with this brand, but you have the other, and both is exclusive. So basically you can't perform on my event because I have a different agreement with, like, it's an organizer nightmare, in my opinion. And also, lastly, I have to say that, in my opinion, the shoes example, comparing the shoes to the microphones is just such a big difference, because the shoe is not as big as a part of the player as the microphone is for the artist. Is it a condenser mic? Does it have a low boost? How is it gonna feedback on stage? All of these things. Is it has a flat top, round top? It's very, very it has much more effect on the beatboxing and the adaptation level you need to do than just the shoe. And I think that's why it's important that it's unified. And the outcome of it is also which microphone is used is so much. And again, my point is that the judging and the judgment at the end has to be about the beatboxing and not how well somebody else translates that beatbox to the sound system.
Okay, Dan, you're next.
All right. Yeah. So, the thing that's important here is that our heads think about the few beatboxers that will prep their sounds differently. Go back to Den and consider the style of Pac-Max when we say these power sounds. Den's someone that might do them because it sounds better as a meta choice. It's like forced, whereas it might be in someone's style. Regardless, we kind of need to know if we need to do that or not. This one is a lock-in moment. I've done a lot of writing down. As Skiller said, we need to find the solution. So here's my solution. my end point. So this is quite nerdy. I'll be quick with it, but if you care to find the big solution, then just lock in and bear with me on this. I think some processing should happen. That's, you know, it doesn't need to, but I think it should. I think a light to moderate amount of compression and the sound engineer not overthinking is important. A light limiter maybe to avoid some harsh stuff coming in, and a general EQ, not individual EQs, a general EQ for the room. That's great, right? And then what Wing said is important, but not to bring your own mics, but to pick the mic type. So what I mean by that is, are we doing a dynamic mic or are we doing a condenser mic on the event?
Yeah, we're gonna get to
But that
we're gonna
doesn't
get
factor.
to we're gonna get to that. Like that's the next topic because we're gonna
Okay.
wrap up. But I'm gonna tell you also about the solutions that SBX thought of, and we're gonna explain it right after you. So just so you know
Okay.
that we also have that as a
Just
topic.
one more thing on that then,
Yeah,
though.
I'm not gonna cut. I don't wanna cut you off. Just continue what you were saying. But what you were saying about mic, choosing a mic and stuff, we're gonna get to
Yeah.
that in a minute.
Okay, because you got supercardioid mics, you got cardioid mics. You know, the supercardioids, they are better for precise beatboxing, like right down the middle, smaller range. They could be better for big, harsh frequencies to come through, something like an AKG D7. Or you have just regular cardioids, like the SM58, which is more colorful because it's more well-rounded. The cardioid pattern's wider. You can do more sounds. So if you are someone with a sound here, then you want to use a cardioid. But a supercardioid, all the sounds down the middle, then the flat top, let's call it, might be better. So if it's a dynamic mic event, offer a couple of options. If it's a condenser one, it doesn't matter as much because they're all just supercardioid mics. So it doesn't really matter which condenser mic you use. But then bringing the mic, your own mic, is just so taxing on the sound engineer and also the prep time of the event. But a variety on the night is good to have a couple of options because it would be 50-50, an SM58 or an AKG. I like those two. It's stripped back. You know, some of the best beatbox we've heard was 10 years ago as well. And that was when it was a bit more stripped back. So I'd say do that processing and then offer a couple of options when you pick which preference to go down. But then another thing too, I keep coming to these GBBs and this same flipping thing happens and it's tough, right? It's, you could know the theoretical best conditions. Like me and Christoph could walk to the event and talk all about the best theoretical solution before we get to the room. But then it always seems to change massively in the moment. Like we've been in hangars, we've been in box rooms, we've been in rooms with a high top, we've been there's a different amount of matter in the room. There could be more people, there could be people holding up flags everywhere, and sound changes. Even the engineers change for in these events. So having a theoretical answer, it's not going to be there. But this is what I think's really important then, is maybe we take some people really in advance to the venue and do a sound check to find the best mic option, so condenser or dynamic, and also to find the best processing options, like this one needs a high boost EQ in general, or maybe it doesn't. And then, just as important as that, then you notify the beatboxers the second you know, and definitely before their sound check. So at least they know. So they can prepare a variety, they can prepare the powers. Den could prepare the set that goes, or the one that goes, and then know which one. So letting them know in advance is important. That would be what I would do to get it to the best. And PS, one mic clears the controversial factors, but if one person is testing both live, then it's also okay to have two of the same mics.
All right.
I'm
Thanks.
sorry to jump in. Just we had this situation this year that even the two closest sounding mic, they didn't sound the same. They just didn't. With the same guy
Yeah.
testing it, it just didn't sound the same.
Yeah. Skilla.
Yes, we had this situation, and I think this is also part of the solution. So I'll give 3 points that for me I think it will work. Of course, then we can hear what's your solution because I'm sure that you have. But I think new microphones is really important, like because overused microphone for years for beatbox events. Imagine hundreds, thousands of beatboxers blasting in competitions. This microphone cannot last that long, and especially for hardcore beatbox events. Uh, Second, light processing is definitely a step in the right direction, but I think limiter should not be included in. Maybe compression just a little bit to make a glue to bring the right levels the things so it's like unifies the sound. EQ, of course, and new microphones. And it's really interesting the thing that Wink said, like the hygiene, because this is really important. So we have to find solution for this. Maybe, as Dilo said, if they have two mics, maybe the host or maybe one of the contestants, maybe they can agree who can test the microphone before the battle, or we can change the cup very fast, but then you cannot counter immediately after the round is over. So
Yeah.
it's not yeah, but we have to think about this, but for sure we can find solution about this thing as well.
This is one of this is one of sorry, when I go to you now, this is one of the topics that are very interesting because we have the duality of having the same exact sound when we know that it's not like probably possible to have exactly the same sound, or that we can have issues. Maybe it's possible, I don't know, but most of the times we saw a little bit of a difference between mics, and even though it was the same IQ. And hygiene, which is what you say, to change the cup and then put it right again, which will make the counters feel 5 seconds later, which is already for the entertainment aspect is already really bad. And we can all agree in that a counter should be immediate, right?
Just have a healthy guy there on hand. Someone that's healthy, definitely healthy, just to check the mics each time they battle. That's it.
Yeah. I know. I don't know if there is something like a microphone cover that can have like can be more hygiene, like in that aspect, but because I think of this all the time for years, many times getting sick because of beatboxing in somebody's mic, and I think that's something that we have to look into the future. We're going wing. We're closing with Christoph, and we're gonna try to wrap this up. Okay, wing, you go.
일단 아까 딜로우가 말했던 의견에 저도 동의를 하는데 그 아까 작년에 같은 마이크라도 이렇게 테스트하면은 다르다고 했는데 그거는 아마 한 마이크에 데미지가 많이 들어가서 그렇게 느껴졌을 거예요.
So I agree with Dilo wholeheartedly on everything you've said before. And also regarding the difference of the very similar mic, two types of mic that Christoph mentioned. Christoph, what's it? Skill. Regarding the experience of two very similar mics sounding different, I believe that it's because one mic had already gotten a lot of damage.
왜냐면 진짜 새 거를 가져와가지고 두 개를 비교하면은 거의 비슷해. 진짜 사람의 귀로 구분하기 힘들 정도로 비슷하거든.
So because if you actually bring like two brand new microphones on the table and if you compare, they are very similar.
그래서 이것도 제가 생각하는 방법 중에 하나인데 아예 스위스 측에서 이 대회에서 공식적으로 사용해도 되는 브랜드의 마이크로폰들을 정리해서 이렇게 해주면은 그거에 맞춰서 각자가 연구해가지고 맞는 거를 가져오는 건 어떤지.
So I think this could also be an alternative option where the official Swissbeatbox designates a specific set of microphones or brands that competitors can allow. For instance, like SM7Bs, D5s, and us competitors can try out our microphones and see what works to our style to the fullest and bring the microphone.
그래서 그때부터는 마이크에 데미지를 주든지 뭐 어떤 이런 하드웨어적인 문제가 특히나 마이크에서 생기는 문제는 본인이 이제
음.
책임을 져야 되는 문제인 거죠.
So after that, the whole responsibility is on us. Whether we break the microphone or whether there is some sort of damage going into the microphone or somehow the mic affects the sound. No, that's all on us because we have the option of choosing the microphones that are obviously Swiss designated.
그리고 이제 심사위원들, 그러니까 그 심사위원들 말고 이제 그 심판이 해야 될, 크리스토프 같은 심판이 해야 될 일은 이 마이크에 치팅을 했는지 안 했는지 이렇게 구분을 해주시면은 딱 되지 않나.
So now then, the job for referee, such as you, Christoph, would be checking if actually someone cheated on the microphone, the hardware itself. So I think that leads up to the whole conversation of like whether which sound would be better for one or another. And yeah, that's about it.
All right, Christoph. You're on mute, Christoph. You're on mute.
Sorry, I'm learning from the best.
Yes. Yes.
I think the one microphone thing is not just about fairness in the moment, but about later claims and later dodges of like, hey, yeah, I brought my own microphone, but it got damaged and that's why I lost. So, these things can be avoided by having one microphone that is the same for everybody, or just claiming like, yeah, my mic, I think it's broke. I know that I'm louder than this guy and he was louder than me, or stuff like this. With one microphone, same setting, but how about different EQs, different sets? If you can move the faders, how about like, hey, I know how I sound and somebody definitely touched the mixer. From next year, by the way, we also planning to have a GoPro or some sort of action camera above the mixer, so if we have these claims, we can just watch it back and see that nobody touched nothing, because these claims happen behind our backs, to our faces all the time. And this year I was standing there to watch over the mixer, but then you have to take my word for it. So if I watch over somebody, then who was watching over me? So we need something impartial in there. And that's the point, that these, not just the fairness in the moment, but later rumors, later discusses and whatever discussions can be avoided this way. And I guess with the solution part, it's you're gonna tell them what we have ready. But I just wanted to say one last thing with the microphones being the same. I have two of the same microphone, which I bring to events. And just to be sure, and sometimes I have other beatboxers with me, and they always claim that mine is sounding better. And I'm always telling them that, told them for a while that, but this is like old as hell, and that's a new one. And I talked to sound engineers and they told me that sometimes it could behave like an instrument when you have it new, or like a shoe. When you have it new and it's not molded a little bit to use, sometimes it actually is sounding worse. It needs a little bit of kilometer into it when it sounds better, and the mechanism is a bit looser and not, boom, ready from the factory go. So I don't think that it's about the newness of the microphone. It's more about we test it and it's good, like in the moment, because these are the things that sound engineering, live sound and engineering get this trap so many times, that, hey, but I see that it's not clipping, but I hear that it's clipping. What the hell, And then we realize these things that, oh, okay, it's the capsule, oh, okay, it's the whatever. And the other things, I would say it's about the solution. So I think I just let you tell them, Freddie, what we came up with.
Yeah, I have a list here. Dan, you've been quiet for a while. Anything you have to say just before we wrap this up a little bit? Do you have anything you wanna jump on?
Not really.
All right. So we're gonna finish this stream. As you can see, people is saying X, another Y, and it's normal. It's something that we have to keep talking about to get somewhere and to get the GBB sound as best as possible. And what I have written down here, that if Christoph wanna jump in, because I'm sure you kind of had some analysis into that. But I'm gonna read to you what is the solution for GBB26 for now on, from now. But maybe it's not like the. I think it is what is gonna happen, but hopefully, if there is better ideas or better solutions, they can any of you can contact SBX, and we can talk about it thoroughly. So what it says is the solution for GBB26 is the artist vote. So after every wildcard, after the wildcard results and contract sign, all qualified solo artists will vote two options. One, raw microphone, no compression, no limiter, or two, light compression, no limiter. So what we said before. There is no third option of compression and limiter, just if people is curious about. But this is inside team decision to keep it fair, and what we talk about today and the points that we made. For the moment, that's the only two options we have. So the majority vote decides the final setup. Official sound engineers act as advisors, and decision and outcome is announced publicly. Artists receive approximately 5-6 months of preparation time for the chosen system. And what Dan said before, there will also be a vote on microphone choice. So there will be a list of microphones, and artists can propose alternatives, and the final selection must work with the venue, be technically stable, be fair to all participants, be approved by sound engineers, and reflect the majority agreement, which will be only one type of mic. It won't be different mics for different artists. Just so you know, there will be some public articles about this, and this stream is for education purposes, for fans and for other beatboxers to jump on this topic and to see if they have better ideas to kind of give a solution to a problem that has been happening for many years, and it will keep happening until we get somewhere where every beatboxer is happy, which is the ideal outcome. That's the ideas of the solution, and that's how SBX and GBB are approaching this new GBB edition. It will be voted by artists, and it will be decided by them. So anybody want to say something about this? You like it? You don't like it? Dan, go ahead.
I don't think I like it, to be honest. I think it's putting the choice to the wrong people, because a good percentage of those artists are just people that are great at beatboxing. They might not know even what the two options are. So it's putting the wrong people. It's like putting a beatboxer on the judge panel because he's good at beatboxing. That's what it's like, which could lead to a wrong decision. I just lightly suggest that the more educated people make the decision, but it doesn't have to be that way. I understand why it's an artist pick. I really understand the point, but it'd be mad of me not to say my thoughts.
Sure,
That's
sure.
all.
That's what we're here for. I'm just reading what the decisions are. Anybody want to jump on this solution for GBB26? Anybody has something to say about it? Yes, Skiller, go.
I also agree with Dilo. I believe that the decision should be taken by people who understand slightly a little bit more than the artists, because most of the artists are, some of them, okay, are some beatboxers who don't have even experience on that kind of stage. So I believe it's more correct to give this power to people who can take better decisions in this situation. But yeah, I also agree that I see the point why you create this, in order to give freedom to the other artist, which makes sense. But in this specific case, I believe it's better maybe for some professionals to decide what's better.
Okay, Pac Max.
I don't know where to stand.
You are
I agree with Dilo. At the same time, I do think participants should have a choice. At the same time, yeah, most of the participants don't know what they will be voting for. They will go on their own preferences without actually knowing how it can impact their beatbox, just because that's the only mic experience they got. Despite they have 5-6 months to work on that, they maybe don't have the time or the opportunities, the money, the whatever. So it's I'm in the middle.
okay.
I'm Switzerland right now.
Okay. Then
Yeah, I mean, I guess I could see why, there are beatboxers who they're good at beatboxing, but they don't know about like sound. And also I do think that, yeah, they're gonna go with their natural preference. And it does bring up a good point. I think if you give it to the artist, now I'm thinking about it, the artist is just like, from a competition standpoint, like let's say I'm like a power beatboxer. Of course I'm gonna choose the raw sound. I want to have the biggest advantage I possibly can. Like, in a way, I'm voting for the latter option. I'm trying to win, right? So
yeah.
that does bring up a good point. And then obviously, like the quieter beatboxers are gonna choose the more compressed sound. But yeah.
Christoph, I'm gonna ask Wing if he has something to say when closing with you, and we'll wrap it up. Wing, anything you have to say about this solution from GBB about choosing your own? You good with it? Okay. Christoph?
On the follow up on this, how about if we give a mini workshop or a written thing for everybody to tell them what they can expect from the sound and what they not should be confusing the process sound for, so nobody thinks that it's going to be like a super limited, super processed thing, but they understand the choice, because at this point it seems like that whatever decision is being made, maybe there are supporters in the beginning, but then at the end but some start to just point finger. They don't come to talk to us, and division is happening. So the idea would be that, hey, these are the options, you choose. Let's decide and let's go with it. And let's see if we can make you happy that way, because at the end of the day, the organizer want to make the competitor happy and also confident, also feeling calm about that they can perform to their fullest, and we try to provide this. And one more thing that I wanted to jump in for now with the hygiene stuff, all we did is we had this wet wipes. Everybody could have them in their pockets, so if you didn't choose to counter all in the moment, you can just quickly wipe. Maybe we can find some other disinfection tools to make disinfecting the microphone very quick and efficient, to try to move some steps, but the steps are being considered, and we try to take steps for better hygiene with the one mic method.
Okay, Dan.
It's such a hard. It's really tough. Like, no one's got the answer, and I see it. Like, do you get people to try and pick, or do you get the artists to? It's not as simple as 15 years ago, where it was raw and one mic and let everyone roll. I honestly don't think that's the worst idea. I'm just saying, like, I wouldn't mind if a big event just had one random dynamic mic and barely any mix, and just everyone rolls with it, and then reset. It's like a reset. But it was actually just an alternative thing. I just wanted to share a thought. But just on that, I think, yeah, it's tough. I just want to ask Wing. I don't know if Wing understands me, but can you remember the Beatbox Classic in China? Yeah, because I remember us chilling backstage. But the reason I mention it is I'm a beatboxer that knew nothing about EQ and sound, right? I just adapted over the years. So at Beatbox Classic, I did a sound check. It was crap. The sound was pretty crap. I remember overnight changing 5 rounds. And I'm not talking about the bits inside the rounds. I mean, I changed 5 rounds, like completely removed them and brought something new. At the time, I don't know why, but I knew what I figured out worked, and it was mid frequencies and high end bass. Now I know that. I didn't at the time. So people build character and experience through that, and I went and smashed it, and I'm certain I wouldn't have if I did my main sets. So you just need to have experience. Don't cry before you've done the experience thing, basically, beatboxers and viewers. Like sometimes people just need to be chucked in there to find it all out. But yeah, this solution is definitely tough.
Yeah.
I just think the most important thing is letting those new kids have the best environment. That's the thing I care about every time. It's that new sensation from Uruguay who knows nothing. This guy's just amazing, and we just need to make sure he has the best experience. Don't put pressure on his knowledge. Let him or her just turn up, and we've got the best conditions. Let them have their moment. That's all. That's the most important thing for me. That's it for me. Whatever gets that is the best answer.
Yeah, that's a really good way to say it, and I like that vision from somebody that had these situations also, because when we see what the solutions are, we think of what is the fair solution, that everybody has the choice or their best option. But it's a good point that not everybody knows what the best option for them is. And actually, that will be some info. We will go back to the team, and I will send them. Well, I will send them the stream and also some notes about what you guys said, and the things that we kind of decided more or less. We were agreeing most of it with each other, and yeah, I think so. I think so too, personally. And I'm not just a moderator. I'm just talking now as a beatboxer. I think is a good option that the company, in this case SBX, will get to decide what is the best for artists, even if they don't know, because they have also the experience. And talks like this can make some small changes, but not losing that kind of like they have to we have to be sure of ourselves in that topic, because they really try. And I think all of these talks come from a lot of criticism from participants and people that behind scenes have been talking bad about certain things, but SBX also wanted to kind of do something better, and they don't feel left out. And sometimes in the moment, because there's so much pressure, we just take things personally. But definitely we try to create an ecosystem that everybody just thrives and performs as best as possible within the competition. So here we have the debate and the talk about the live sound of GBB for GBB26 and for future GBBs. There is a lot of points that, I mean, I will get back to the team, and they will take it in account. But yeah, anything you wanna say? Last words for the stream. I'm just going from Max, then Wing, Christoph, Skiller, and Dilo, and we say bye. Pac Max, anything you wanna say to the chat and to the people?
Wise words are spread all around the community today. It's really lucky and good that we had like over 1,000 people watching almost the whole live stream. Thanks a lot for this. It would be good to, if we have these discussions again on stream, to bring also other main beatbox figures. I know like Gillard messaged me like, hey, can I hop on the live stream? But like 10 minutes ago, and I'm like, hey, we're going to end the live stream. It's a bit late. But
yeah, it could go for hours, a topic like this.
Yeah,
I think
definitely. But it was very instructive and was very important, despite there's like not one main solution. So thanks everyone for taking part in this. And thanks, Freddy, for being the host and manager of this whole conversation.
That's all right. Thanks, Pac Max. Thanks, Max. Dan, anything you want to say to the peeps? People say that you've been falling asleep for the last hour and a half, but it's fine, though. It would have been.
Oh no, I was looking at the phone. I'm
it would have
looking
been
at the
a good
chat,
clip, though,
bro.
if you fell asleep.
I'm looking at chat. But yeah, everything's always rigged. Kenny Urban.
Right. Wing, anything you want to say to close this up?
French judges.
There is something that Sonos want to say.
Sonos. Well,
I just wanted to say, I tried my best to deliver everything he said as accurately as possible. And I was not gonna lie, a bit nervous seeing all these legends and just me being here. So
yeah, can we give a round of applause to Sonos in the chat and everybody here? That was crazy translation, live translation, man. That's not easy, you know. That's not easy. I've tried it. It's not easy at all. Well done yourself.
No, yeah, I mean, I'm still more of a fanboy than beatboxer myself. So it was a huge pleasure to be here, and I hope this deliberation progresses the scene further. Yeah, thank you.
Shout out to you, Sonos. Wing, anything you want to say? You're fine, yeah? Okay, Christoph?
For me, the most important point is just remember always that we have maybe different point of views or but we all try to do the best for the scene. We all try to push for the better solution, and in my opinion, everything needs to get a little bit of time and these conversations to happen. And I'm super happy that it could happen publicly. And I really hope that people can take conversations for conversations and not life or death convincing each other kind of stuff, but stating our point, sleeping on the other point, maybe get a little bit closer and find the best solution for everybody. But it takes time and it takes effort, and the effort is also stating your truth as well as you can, as well verbalized as it's possible. And yeah, I'm looking forward to GBB26 and looking forward to the evolving of the community, being able to accept differences and work from the differences to a better future, not see division in differences, because differences is actually amazing that we see in one topic such a round picture, so we can strive for the better. So yeah, much love.
Thanks, Christoph. Skiller.
It was a big pleasure to be part of that stream. I think this is a big step for the beatbox development in order to find the best solutions and the best formula how it will that will affect to the beatbox battles. And it's really important for me, like in these situations we also always can disagree with some points that somebody is mentioning, but it's super important to accept the other's opinion, because even if we disagree, we have to accept, because this is the only way to find the best solution. And I'm happy to be part of that. And it was not just a small topic, because this is not just a technical issue about what sound, what microphone, what settings we're gonna use. It's part of what we are doing as beatboxers, because let's be honest, we are super dependent on the live sound. And that's why I think it's super important that we had this conversation. And I'm just big up to everybody who participated, big up to everybody who watched the live stream. I think that's a big step for our development.
Thank you, Dan.
Hey, yeah, honored to be invited. Appreciate that. Cheers to Fair Play Skiller and Pac-Max, Den, Wing, Sonus, Christoph, Freddy. No one had to be here. That didn't need to happen, but it did, and so that's good. And everyone that watched, such many numbers, that's potentially hundreds of people that have been educated or at least thought about it, that's just good. Just a little tip, like don't stress it, guys. Like all the events I've been to, the sound's good. There's really good and there's good, and but it's always good. It's not bad. There's rankable comparison, but like don't stress it. It's always done to a good level. And just for the beatboxers, don't just work on your beatbox style. You don't need to do these adaptations. Just keep working on the style and train your power. Then you will be a force that doesn't have any problems.
And with that, we're leaving. Thank you to everybody for watching. Thank you for you guys coming here, you know, just to help the community and taking 2 hours to talk about this in front of almost 1,000. No, I think even more of 1,000 people at some point. I've been reading your chat, but there was a duty, and I was very active listening to their takes. Thank you very much for watching. If you want to come to the next GBB, tickets are available in GBB26. You can check it. It will be late September. Thank you everybody for watching, and we'll see you guys very soon. Thank you, Pac-Max. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Sonus. Thank you, Wing. Thank you, Christoph, Skiller, Dilo. My name is Freddy Beats, and we'll see you in the next stream. Thank you very much, and have a great day. Bye, bye, bye.